Welcome, 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 everybody. It's Sunday. It's the Blitz. It's week 14. It's crazy to just be even saying that out loud. I can't believe that we're already here at week 14, but we're ready to get you guys started, set up. We're going to get your lineup questions right away. We'll see you here in about 30 seconds, folks. Welcome back. Welcome back. Exactly. All fired up. All fired up. I got my man Joe this morning with me. Joe, how we doing today?
It is week 13, Michael. There is no more effing around. You are either in your last week of your regular season or your next to last week of the regular season. We're trying to secure bye weeks. We're trying to secure seeding. We're trying to secure playoff spots. Hey, maybe we're trying to secure the number one pick in the draft next year, and you need to know who not to play. We'll take it from any direction today, buddy.
That's it right there. Yeah, no, that's actually one of my fortes is getting them dynasty lineups looking like you're starting people, but you're not, because I have to do that in not quite a few of my leagues. It's kind of crazy how some of my leagues we got to turn around, especially my larger leagues. So gotta love it. But I'm Dirty Jobs. We're here. It's Sunday morning. It's week 14. I'm shocked that I'm saying that we're getting towards the end of the
week 13, right?
13 here.
Week 13 or 14?
It's week 14.
It is week 14.
It is week 14.
I was off a week.
That's a trip, man. Yeah, no, week 14. That's what happens to us, Joe. We get all lovey-dovey about the fantasy football season, and it just leaves us like a cold.
No, you're wrong. It's week 13. It is week 13.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself here. We still have one more week before playoffs, man. That's crazy. I swear to God, it was week 14 already. We got our man Jeff. He says, "Morning, boys. Sorry I can't be there. Jeff, definitely wish you were here. He had an obligation this weekend. He will be back with us again next week to help us break these ties. Hopefully he's paying attention out there and he can just hop on and say something as like,
oh boy,
hey guys, let's do this. Like that's what he thinks or something like that. Oh, look at that. He said, where's Jeff? What did you do with Jeff? You know what we did with Jeff Trans-Siberian. You know what we do around here as far as things go. He was wrong on one call last week, and we said, that's it, buddy. Hit the bricks. No, he's going to be back next week. He's rattling some pots and pans himself today. We can't wait, like I said, to have him back. He goes, he needs 2 in standard. Think long and hard as friends. Our friends, my friends. You're our friend. Trans-Siberian, you know what I do. He says, Downs, Ford, Wilson, and Rice. Joe. Don't let this guy down. What do you got?
I gotta love this guy. It's like he's part of the show because, I mean, this question, and I wish I could say that was staged. These are guys that I gotta believe we're going to talk about a lot today because Downs has been on my mind a lot going into this week. He had like 13 targets last week. Rice obviously had a breakout game, 100 and a touchdown last week. And then Ford and Wilson have, obviously been plays all season long. This is a pretty good one. It's standard though, so I think we got to keep that in mind. So I'm going to take Ford. The guy's been rushing it no matter who the defense is. The Rams defense, not a great one. Obviously, Cleveland needs to run the ball a ton because, as I'm sure we will mention once again, we got Mr. Joe Flacco back in the NFL this week starting a football game. Can't believe I'm saying that. So I'm definitely going Ford, and I'm between Rice and Downs on this one. I don't think I'm going Garrett Wilson here at this point. I think I'm going to go Rice. I really, it's Mahomes. So I don't feel like 100 and a touchdown was a flash in the pan last week. I'm thinking this is a young guy coming on and building some rapport with, a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, so for me, I think Ford's been doing enough to get it done. With Flacco coming in there, that's a guy that I kind of like to have because I think that's at the very least, I feel like he's going to be able to find his outlet. So I've got guys like David Njoku and Ford going up a tick in this matchup where I have Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore going down a tick as far as what that offense is going to do. So for me, it's Ford and Rice, but it's really close between Ford and Downs because Downs has been the real deal. I just feel like we're going to get the volume out of Ford for sure. So, I mean, And like I said, so I mean, like with that, we're just not sure that Downs is going to be your guy because there are a lot of weeks in there where this guy's blanking on us. And then Rashee Rice, man, yeah, no, I think he's been getting more and more involved in that offense. Getting the confidence of a guy like Patrick Mahomes is not a bad thing to be getting, and it looks like he's been earning that. He's been probably a relief to Kelsey as well, and we're seeing a little uptick in his production. Yeah, I think Rice is the play here as well because I can see Rice getting a touchdown. So for me, it's Ford and Rice.
Trans-Siberian, though, if you're a DFS player, and I don't know if he is, I don't know what time is it at 9:00 on a Saturday night in where he is. I'm not sure, but we love, and we talked about it last night, Mike. You said it, and you were right. Downs is a great DFS play today.
Yeah, nope, and definitely he's on my play. He's definitely my first receiver on that pick because not only am I getting good value there, but that guy has the potential to kind of just break out at any given time. So we love it. We love it. Let's go ahead and get going here with some of these questions, and we'll go ahead and get the ticker going. Like I said, make sure you guys are asking your questions in the comments below. If you're on X and watching right now, you're gonna have to go get on YouTube for us to see them, but feel free to hop on over while you're there. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell. You'll get all things TPF. So we got at Case Justin 401. He says, help. He has one spot left. Does he start Cortland Sutton or Devon A-Chain today? And Joe, I'm going to go ahead and let you lead this one off. Who do you think on this one?
A-Chain, it's only the injury thing that scares me. I mean, I think there's been 2, if not 3 games this year now where he has had an in-game injury and then hasn't finished. They got a very juicy matchup against the Commanders. So I love everything Dolphins. It's just an injury thing. Sutton, you probably know he's going to get you 10 to 15. Probably not going to go too much higher than 17, 18. A-Chain obviously could go for 102 touchdowns if he can play the whole game. So I guess you got to go A-Chain. He's a little bit more of the home run hitter where I think Sutton's a little safer, but it's hard to not play A-Chain against the Commanders. And it feels like he's going to get his half of the share with Mostert.
Yeah, no, I mean, like with it being week 13, like I said, I don't think it's time to get cute. I think it's time to maximize on points. Not even knowing your situation, you could be up against a guy who had, like I was talking to him last night. I have a lineup where I have DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, and Jake Ferguson. And this is a high scoring league, I mean, so there's a guy that's facing me this morning with 150 points already spotted on him before we get started, tight end premium as well. So, I mean, if you're going up against that, you want to go Devon A-Chain. If you feel like you're confident in the rest of your team and only you're looking to get 10 to 15 points, I feel like Cortland Sutton is for sure the play. Like, I mean, I think he's going to get you 16 a touch. I think that he's been doing that enough. I think he's got enough of that offensive attention to go ahead and go with that one there. Let's see what we got going on here. He says it's 4 a.m. here, Joey Tutu. You're muted.
That's during DFS that's during our Saturday night show. All right. Well, hey, if you ever
4 a.m. Well, dude, there's no excuses then. Where are you at, man? Like,
if you ever can't sleep, buddy, you got young kids over, turn us on at 4 a.m.
Right, there you go. I mean, what better thing to wake up than this, Trans-Siberian? I mean, come on, man. What more do you want? He's probably like a whole lot more in life. Chris Wynn says A-Chain or Brees. Wow. What do you think on this one, Joe?
So a lot of A-Chain today, and I almost feel like I just have to make a decision from now on how I feel about him for the day, because he does scare me from an injury perspective. He really does. But if the guy can stay on the freaking field, I think both of those running backs are going to have solid days. Brees is going to play. I was looking at some injury stuff earlier, and Hall was questionable going into the week, but he's good. He's good now. This is another tough one. Brees is probably going to get a few more touches, but we all obviously know, the Jets are playing the Falcons. Where are you going on this one, Mikey?
I'm actually going to lean A-Chain here as well. It's kind of crazy because Brees Hall, you feel like is the right answer here, right? Because we're looking at volume play and what his talent level can bring to the table. But for me, A-Chain is just a little bit more of that home run hitter. I think that I'm a little bit more confident starting him this week than, because that was a real bummer starting him a couple of weeks ago and having his knee give him issues. So I think that, but I feel like we're past that. It is close though. Because I do think the Jets, if they do anything on that offense, it's going to be a little bit through Brees Hall. And so it's a little bit tough for me because I think he's a little bit more of a volume play, but I just like the ceiling more from A-Chain. And it sucks because I feel like Brees should be the answer here, but it just isn't. I can't get there with that Jets offense.
No, and I'll be honest, I made the decision without looking at any stats, but or actually I was thinking, but the stats support what you're saying, because Hall, from a rushing perspective, his last 3 games are 7 for 25, 10 for 23, and 13 for 28, and then 16 for 50 and 12 for 17. So, I mean, those are abysmal rushing numbers. Other than the fact that there's a lot of carries there. Now, obviously, he's done much better receiving, 7 for 24, 5 for 50, and a touchdown. But I mean, if A-Chain gets his 15 touches today against that Washington defense, you're looking close to 100 yards, and it's just a matter of who they let have those red zone carries for the touchdowns.
Yeah, and there is one thing that kind of scares me, is the fact that Jeff Wilson is back out on the field over there as well. And so we might be looking at a 3-headed monster there. But I still, like I said, I like that better than I like anything I've seen off of that Jets offense. And they're going through the quarterback ringer-maroo like it's just not good. We got Michelle A. Milu says pick 2, an RB2 and a flex. Sorry, Ford, Warren, Singletary, and Johnson. Deontay Johnson. What do you think here, Joe? Are you going to be for a running back 2 first, and then what are we doing for the flex?
Yeah, I'll be curious to see where you go on that running back one. I'm going to anticipate what I think you're going to say. And as much as I like Ford, I think you do got to go Warren here. That's a matchup that's home against Arizona this week. Pittsburgh's running on all sorts of high emotion right now with what's been going on there the last couple of weeks. And I mean, and Warren has looked phenomenal. He's one of those guys like a DK Metcalf who totally passes the eye test from a quickness perspective, being able to break tackles. So I'm going to go Warren there. Let me ask, I should know this. Is Pierce playing for Houston?
He is, but okay. Is he? That's what I said last week. Is Pierce playing? Because he was on the field, but was he?
So I will definitely go Warren. And I'm not gonna play. I don't feel good enough to go 2 Steelers, so I don't think I can go Warren and Johnson there. I think I'm gonna stick with the 2 running backs here and go Warren and Ford.
And I'm going to go opposite of you on the other half there. I think Jaylen Warren is a smash play. Like I said, if you watch our DFS show, he's on my DFS squad as well. Devin Singletary, he's been really dominating that offensive line. I mean, yes, they had about the same amount of carries last week, him and Dameon Pierce, but Singletary seems to do a whole lot more with them, and especially out of the passing game, he's getting a lot more production. I think against that Denver defense, he's a smash play. Because I think that he's going to probably get the bulk of the carries, because Dameon Pierce is just getting the opportunities and he's not doing nearly as much as Singletary is. So for me, it's Warren and Singletary, but it is close between Ford. Deontay Johnson's definitely off this list though, for sure.
And real quick, just as we're talking running back, and I don't know, I'm obsessed with this guy at this point, the way his season's gone. If Zach Moss is on anybody's waiver wire, or if there's a trade deadline that's not up yet and you can go get Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor is now out 3 to 5 weeks. And Moss was putting together Pro Bowl type performances when he had the backfield to himself earlier in the year for the Colts. So really excited to get Zach Moss playing again.
Yeah, he's a potential league winner for you. I mean, like that guy, go get him. If he's available, go grab him right now. Yeah, Zach Moss is pretty amazing. Here's a good one. At Reese Report says, Terry McLaurin or Taysom Hill for the flex position today. What do you got?
Well, I mean, we talked about Hill last night in the Rubik's Cube that he is from a fantasy perspective. Olave's going to play. We didn't know that last night. We know that now. Olave will play. They're still down Michael Thomas. They're down Shaheed. So the depth chart at wide receiver past Olave is a bunch of guys that I've never even heard of, to be completely honest with you. So you know that Taysom Hill is going to get some cheese today against Detroit at home. But I like McLaurin too, because it's a pretty good matchup. Washington home against Miami. Don't expect Washington to win. Expect big changes there. But the one thing that they are doing successfully is just airing the freaking ball out and letting Howell get all the experience he needs to come back stronger next year. So this one is really hard for me. I'll be really interested again in what you have to say. Man, this is really tough. Dotson's been better than McLaurin for like 3-4 weeks in a row almost at this point in Washington too. And you also mentioned Curtis Samuel, who's been really good for them lately and getting a lot of looks. So that scares me on McLaurin. I'm like 50-50 on this one. Maybe I give Taysom Hill a shot here today, though.
You know, and I'm leaning kind of the Taysom Hill direction too. Like this is crazy that fantasy's been like this season, but because this answer is Terry McLaurin 1,000 times. If you're asking me this question from like say June to August, right? Like, but from August to today, now if you'd ask me, I'm like, man, Taysom Hill looks like he's been getting more looks. I gotta almost lean McLaurin because of the talent level, but man, Taysom Hill, I have him as well. Like I said last night, honorable mention for him as far as tight end goes in the DFS play, or DFS flex play, because I think that he's going to get enough done to make you happy that you played him. So I'm actually leaning Taysom Hill too, and it's weird. It's really weird that, especially with Sam Howell having a successful year and a very successful year at that, it just hasn't been the same for Terry McLaurin, and it really should translate as to both. But Terry McLaurin's really been a tough guy to own year after year after year. Like, he just has never really apexed that bubble is where his talent level is. And it's weird that, because I mean, man, the guy's a separation artist, but no, it's pretty crazy. So
yeah, it's weird that Howell's throwing for all those yards and McLaurin's having a down year. It's almost like, who's he throwing to? Because I mean, Dotson's been good, but it's not like he's gonna, he's not gonna receive for 1,600 yards this year or anything like that. Samuel's been in and out, so it's like, where's all that yardage going? But he's spreading it around pretty good there.
Yeah, a lot of that's going to Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson Jr. So, but that's I guess, I don't know. I mean, that's part of being a new quarterback. You'd think that we'd be getting some good looks at Logan Thomas too, but that hasn't translated to anything either. But yeah, that's the only guys that he's hitting on the outside there. At Michael_Petelli says, Love or Minshew? Ooh, that's a tough one. Are we going with the Fiesta driving Minshew or the Packer driving Love? What do you got here, Joe?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing right now. I actually almost want to see what the weather's like in Green Bay, because that could play in my decision a little bit, and I was kind of curious about that today anyway. It doesn't look like there's any major weather there. You know what? I'm going Minshew. No Jonathan Taylor, and Zach Moss has been great, but he's done it both ways through the pass game as well as with the rushing. And you have Downs, who we've talked about a ton, and he's their number 2, getting 13 targets last week. Pittman's getting his 100 yards a lot of the weeks too. And they're playing Tennessee. So I'm going to give Gardner Minshew a try here, even though I know he's been a little tough. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on in Green Bay. You're about to throw the coffin lid on them, and now all of a sudden they're looking better, but now they have no Aaron Jones. What do you think?
Yeah, on this one, I feel like I love what Minshew's been doing over there, but he hasn't really been fantasy viable, in my opinion, at least. Whereas Jordan Love, I think, has been really showing out. The past few weeks, he's been looking really, really good. Really, he and Dubs have really gotten a connection going. Christian Watson's even been getting like the red zone looks. And then, Jaden Reed, man, that guy's been looking really solid. As a matter of fact, he's another solid DFS play today, because that guy always still comes in cheap, and he always usually delivers you a touchdown, especially in a positive Green Bay matchup, which I think this is. So I feel like I'm leaning Love here. I'd love to.
I'm with you. You talked me into it, and I'm looking at some. I'm with you. I like Love here too. You're right.
Yeah, Love's been balling out the past few weeks, man, and he's going to give you, like I said, Minshew's going to get you 2 touchdowns, probably call it about 228 yards, but I think Love's going to be able to get like the 350 threshold. Like I said, we're in a more positive Green Bay matchup here, and he's been looking really good with what he's been doing with the football. And like I said, I think we're going to see a little bit of that spread out. I think Aaron Jones is still he's still out, correct? I guess we never went to the injury report.
He's out. So. And I'll do that on my next one, but Jones is out. That I do know.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. We'll just go ahead and kick right into that, man. Like, since Jeff's not here, I blame Jeff being gone for me not being organized, Jeff. So thank you very much. Go ahead, Jeff. Joe, what do we got for an injury report?
So we're pretty clean at quarterback this week. The only new one is Dorian Robinson Thompson for Cleveland, and we've got the new Joe Flacco era here in 2023 in Cleveland, which is bizarro to say. We know that A-Chain's back at the running back position for the Dolphins. We know that Jonathan Taylor's now out 3 to 5 weeks for the Colts. Get Zach Moss in those lineups as we talked about. We talked about Breece Hall playing today also. And that's about it at running back. That's pretty clean too for week 13 or week 13 and a half, if you ask you and I guess. At the wide receiver position, Keenan Allen has been questionable all week. He's expected to suit up at New England. Tank Dell also questionable all week. He is also going to suit up, and that has just been what a hot commodity him and Stroud have been together. Olave is going to play. Chris Godwin is also going to play. He was questionable. I'm really shocked Hollywood Brown's going to play. I mean, I've been playing fantasy since 1999. I don't think I can ever remember a week 13 this clean from an injury perspective. So good on you to the players of the NFL this year and the trainers, because that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, the guys who were out for the season, there's a lot you just can't do about that. But it's seeming to be that it hasn't been as bad this year. I mean, I'm sure if I'm a player perspective or anything like that, I'm sure there's a lot of arguments in there, like especially if you're a Justin Jefferson first round drafter like I was in quite a few leagues. I'm sure you probably have quite a few arguments for this season not being injury prone or what. But I mean, it seems like a lot of our big names have come back, including Justin Jefferson. I love the real jerk move that the NFL or that the Vikings did, activating him from IR right before the bye week. I'm like, yeah, thanks, buddy. That was really cool of you right there.
Because you got to waste a roster spot then.
Yeah, the whole entire
That's a great
time,
call.
right? Like
that's a great call.
Well, yeah, now exactly, and then that too. As long I had him in leagues where I don't even have an IR, so I had to sit there with this guy on my bench since like week 3. Like, oh man, it's been rough. And every single week they're like, oh, he's expected to at least come back. Like, come on, man. This is a good one here. I couldn't wait to get to. We got at Nicholas Winter 16 says got a hard decision to make. He needs to cut one. Joe, we got to help this guy. He's got Kupp, Puka. He's got Taylor. He's got Walker. The bye week is killing him, and he needs a new kicker. Any advice? I'm going to go ahead and lead this one off right here. I think with the current news, I think I'm dropping Taylor. What are you doing right here?
Yeah, he got lucky. He got lucky because of that news, and he can drop Taylor. That's a real tough one if Taylor's playing. Like if you're in some sort of dynasty keeper league, you don't want to let go of Puka, and you can't let go of Kenneth Walker. So I guess I would say Taylor for sure, because 3 to 5 weeks he's out. If Taylor was relevant in this, I think you'd have to cut Cooper Kupp, which is insane.
I think I would cut Puka. I don't think I could see myself cutting Cooper Kupp, but I think that there's a lot of bias in there. Cooper Kupp, as anybody knows, that's my favorite fantasy football player ever since he was a rookie. I mean, this guy was somebody I was high on before. And I remember when he tore his ACL, and I remember seeing when he came back from that ACL, and he had even more cut and more separation. And I mean, you throw 3 guys on this guy, and it's still not enough. I mean, I love Cooper Kupp forever. But yeah, so it'd be Puka, but only because I think I'm wrong. I think Puka Nacua has actually been a lot more productive as far as Cooper Kupp goes. I own them both in so many damn leagues that it's not even funny. So, I mean, I know that Puka would be the play here, but I just can't cut Cooper Kupp. And I'm sorry if you guys are looking for an analyst that can.
It's really weird because the Rams obviously have had quarterback issues because Stafford's been hurt. You get Stafford back last week. You put 37 up on Arizona. Higbee goes for 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams looks like Barry Sanders. But then Kupp was still kind of left out there with, I think 3 for 18 or something like that. And the other funny part, Puka only went for 4 for 27 last week. So bizarro to see the Rams score 37 with Stafford, and it wasn't neither of the wideouts.
Right. Yeah, no, it was, you don't really ever see that very often. And it kind of makes you downgrade their performances weeks after that, which it sucks because, man, those guys were paying off, man, at the beginning of the season, man, especially Puka Nacua. That guy was paying dividends when Cooper Kupp was off the field. At Ian Sapp 7, he says, who do I sit between Boyle, Flacco, and Hubbard PPR? Joe, What do you got?
Holy shit. Well, Warren's brother is in some bad shape here. Who do I sit? I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm going to play. Man, which one of those quarterbacks do you play? And then the other thing, too, is, I mean, Miles Sanders is. They were shitting on him for a couple weeks, and now they got him back getting at least half the carries, if not more, than Mr. Hubbard. I'm looking at what Hubbard did last week. Oh, Hubbard was pretty good last week. All right, so I'm going to definitely play Hubbard. And, out of these quarterbacks, God, this is insane to say, but I'm going to start Joe Flacco, I think. I got to believe Cleveland's going to score more points than the Jets. And I know you got Garrett Wilson, but there's been issues there. So I'm going to look at Cooper and the tight end there, Nuoko, and say that those are better options. I'm going to freaking start Joe Flacco and Hubbard and sit Boyle.
I have no argument for that just because I feel like I don't like either Flacco or Boyle at all today. But you know what? If I have to choose between the two of them, I like Flacco's outlook and his at least the team a little bit better. He's got a defense that he can ride a little bit harder than Boyle can. I mean, both got phenomenal defenses, right? Like both have great defenses. I feel like Flacco has a little bit more of an offensive punch with Ford being able to carry you and David Njoku being able to carry you a little bit as well.
Better play calling too. But, whether in the red zone, I could see them getting Flacco some easy throws where the Jets play calling's been so bad this year without Rodgers. I just have more faith in the whole system, I think, in Cleveland. But that's a tough one.
This is more of why I don't like Breece Hall and what he's been doing.
Good point.
Answer for me more than it is what I like between Joe Flacco and Boyle. Because it's just, I really think that Breece Hall, man, what was he? He was averaging 50 yards a carry in the very first game or something crazy like that. And it was like 5 carries into the game. So this wasn't looking like it was an actual fluke or anything like that. But boy, it ended up being a fluke, right? Like he does not look the same as he did at the beginning of the season.
And the offensive line is so bad there.
Yeah.
The offensive line's just getting killed.
And I think you got a lot of things like that where you get like a little bit let down from like losing somebody like Rodgers, which is crazy. We haven't really talked about that either, him getting activated off the IR and what that means for the rest of the season. I'd
love to see the Jets win just to make, just to throw the wrench. Do we get to see him play in a few weeks and come back? And I'd love to see the Jets win these games just for that reason alone. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people who'd like to see what he's got left in the tank, because I don't think we got to see very much of that in 4 plays of the beginning of the season.
Do you think they beat Atlanta today? Seeing we're talking about them, do you think they win today?
I do. Yeah.
You do? Okay.
I do. Yep. I think they can beat them. I think that defense can actually score more than I'm worried about the offense scoring. Trans-Siberian says, Mikey, you believe it's 3 years we've been together here. I love you, Trans-Siberian. I want to know that you're one of my favorite people on the planet right here. I know I'm always thinking about you, especially when I hear any news coming up from that way. Says, by the way, when the Red Sox crap going on the wall, soon enough, my man, we're kind of just in the middle of transitions here and hopefully getting everything set up here within the next few weeks. By the way, Joey, you and Jeff received an A for suggested Rice last week. Yes, I love it, man.
Go back to the well.
I thought I liked Rice last week too. I must have been on the other side of the fence there as far as that goes, but that's why we have the other two analysts here, is because we love Jeff and Joe, because they can usually steer us in the right direction when I'm led astray right there.
He's like internal audit too for the rest of the listeners here. He will keep us in check.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's usually me he's keeping in check, it seems, especially this season. I've been on the wrong side of the fence, I think 10 times for that wonderful gentleman right there. So I wonder when he's going to start just leaving me out of the equation there. But I hope not, man, because I love the guy, man. He's one of my favorite people, like I said, on planet Earth. Not only he's just a genuine dude. At 1021 _ Nick says 1, D-Hop or Josh Downs. 2, Thielen or Josh Downs. 3, Najee or Gibbs and Moss sitting 1. So let's go with this. Number 1, what do you got? D-Hop touchdowns.
I love this. Is a vivid picture of a week 13 fantasy football player. You've got lots of depth on the team. You've gotten through the bye weeks. We've talked about the injuries being kind of clean, and these are the situations that you end up in. And these are the calls that can make or break. Can make a playoff season or make not a playoff season. The first one scares me a little bit to go Downs, but I think you have to go Downs. I mean, he got 13 targets last week. They don't even look at Hopkins that much in Tennessee. I know Hopkins could have a big game today, but I think it's too much of like a scratch ticket with him, where I feel real good about those targets for Downs. And even if he turns them into a 50% catch rate, you're talking 6 or 7 receptions based on that. So I'm going to go Downs on number 1. Most of the year you would have gone Thielen without a doubt, but he hasn't been great lately either. I'm going to go Thielen on this one, though. I'm going to go Thielen on 2. They're playing Tampa, good weather. Tampa got lit up by Houston a couple weeks back. And on 3, I'm going to go, and I just realized this isn't how you wanted me to do this, and I apologize for that already. You should have went one at a time.
No, I would have stopped you had I not liked it, man. I'm sitting back loving it. Go. We're good.
3 is tough. It would have been Najee up until the last couple of weeks, but he's really come on. I can't sit Zach Moss in this one. I really can't. I'm not sitting Moss. I know it sounds a little crazy, but I can't sit Moss here with no Taylor. You can't sit Gibbs either. This is really hard. I think I'm going to sit Gibbs. Najee, you're almost like guaranteed he's getting in the end zone. If it's standard, I'm definitely sitting Gibbs. If it's PPR, that's really, really hard. And I'm going to be curious. I'm going to defer to you on 3 until I hear your argument.
Gotcha. Yeah, so on number 1, I do like D-Hop today, especially with Trey Longburks coming back. I think he's going to be able to take a little bit of pressure off of D-Hop, but you can't argue with the target usage that Josh Downs has been getting. So I'm going to lean with you on that one for sure. I like Josh Downs right here. I actually like him a lot today. He's actually another guy that I have in my daily lineup. So give me Josh Downs in this instance. Number 2, I think I'm with you on this one as well. Thielen just hasn't been getting the job done this season as far as well, no, not this season. Sorry, over the past 2 weeks. This season, he's been phenomenal, but we just haven't been seeing those phenomenal numbers. But we've still been seeing the volume and the usage still there. I think this is a little bit of a softer matchup for them today. I think that he's going to be able to get the ball more. I think that we've seen how Bryce Young treats him on offense. So I'm also going to agree with you here. I'm going to lean Adam Thielen for this one. And man, number 3. Now, number 3, gets really, really tricky right here because I like all 3 of these guys a lot today. I can't sit Moss. Like that's definitely not going to happen. Moss with no Taylor has been really good to play this season. Another guy that we were talking about playing in our daily as well. We got Najee Harris, who's been getting it done. And I think that's a really good matchup for them. Gibbs, on the other hand, I feel like Gibbs has been getting the job done, but I don't have as much confidence because I think David Montgomery steals maybe at least 2-3 touchdowns in this situation over Gibbs. So it's just going to be about volume play. Now, again, Najee versus Warren doesn't make me feel any better, right? Like, so if I could, it's really close between Najee and Gibbs, but it's Gibbs by a hair. And only because I feel like Montgomery's a little bit more talented than Jaylen Warren. So I think that, I think we see Najee score. I think we see Najee score. I think we've seen Moss score multiple times, but Gibbs, I just can't give that kind of credit to. So that's where we're at. We actually landed in the same place right there. So
well said, my friend.
We got S format only shot 1 in standard. Maybe that's start 1 in standard. So you guys know I'm Ron Burgundy. We got Mostert, A-Chain, or Ramondre. This is it's kind of funny. This is the question I was asking myself when I was setting my daily lineup as well. What do you got here, Joe?
So I have the benefit of, I saw Mr. Mendelssohn's answer on this one, and it makes me feel better about myself because I'm having a hard time not playing Ramondre Stevenson, and whether it's I've got a league situation where I'm not sure what to do with him. And I liked him in DFS when I was making my lineups too. He's been the only bright spot in the Patriot offense this year and recently, and they're home against the Chargers, which is a really nice matchup. Man, the 2 Miami guys. I mean, let's break it down this way. I don't think in this situation you're going to start the two Miami guys, because you can start Stevenson, who's a clear-cut starter, getting carries. You're not going to start two guys who Stevenson and A-Chain can get you points literally at the same exact second. When you're watching Red Zone today, you could have two screens up and you could have A-Chain running on one screen and Stevenson running on the other. You can't have that with A-Chain and Mostert because they're on the same freaking team. So I do think you got to make the decision between those two. And honestly, I'm conservative from an injury perspective, and you labeled Mostert must start weeks ago, and you've been right almost every freaking week about that. So I'm not going to get off of your bandwagon now, Mikey. I'm going to sit A-Chain here.
You know, I mean, it's crazy because I feel like he's a guy that can go out there and actually outdo Mostert, right? But Mostert's been holding up against that kind of pressure as well, even in games where A-Chain does well. So does Mostert, and he's usually leading the pack in that role either way. So, I mean, yes, A-Chain's getting 3 touchdowns, but that's not until Mostert got his 2. So, but I feel like Mostert's going to be a guy that they're going to get the volume play. And I'm with you. You know, Ramondre Stevenson's been getting all the looks on that offense, and that offense has been ridiculously terrible, but they have been kind of getting a little bit better paced. Zappy coming in might change a thing or two. You know, Malik Cunningham even got called up, so we don't know what they're actually going to be doing as far as quarterback, but we do know that who's going to be playing at running back. So give me Ramondre, give me Mostert. We're sitting A-Chain, and it's crazy because that's a really it's almost sit Ramondre because of how much I like that Miami backfield today. Jeff says half PPR, Sutton or Nakua. What do you think here, Joe?
This is tough. I feel like it's we've been saying this a lot, but it's like that safety or go for it thing, right? Like you can bank on Sutton going for 10. I mean, you can bank on Sutton hitting 10 more than Tyreek Hill this year. I think Tyreek Hill might have more single-digit games than Sutton, as insane as that sounds. Obviously, Sutton has no 30s, and Hill has a bunch of those too. But the point is, Sutton's been very consistent. They're playing Houston, right? Which should be, that is correct. I have that right. That's Denver, Houston this week. Houston, which, correct. You know, Houston's putting up a lot of points. They're giving up a lot of points. But Nakua, man, Stafford's back. Cleveland, tougher. Man, this is really hard. The PPR, Nakua gets going. He can have double-digit catches. Sutton wouldn't have double-digit catches even on a good week. I think I'm going to play Nakua, but I'm going to do it with one eye closed throughout the day because Sutton's probably going to get in the end zone, and that's going to sting. But I feel like Nakua could have a real big game where Sutton, I don't think, can have a huge game. Where are you going with this? I'm a mess.
You know, I'm actually really close on both of these guys, too, as far as my weekly rankings go. Sutton, for me, is just the guy that's a little bit more consistent. Like, I'm with you. I feel like, no, but I also said it's week 13. It's time to go big or go home. Give me Nakua. Give me the points. I'm going to go for ceiling, especially if I'm in a negative matchup, especially if I'm a guy that might be in 7th place on the bubble trying to get that 6th place. I'm pulling out all the stops, man. I want to get as many points as I can. I want to try to get into the playoffs. So that's what my motivation is today. I'm going to be trying to get those big home run hits. You know, if I've got nothing but big home run hitters and I need just a little bit of consistency coming on the outside, Sutton, no doubt, because Nakua hasn't been hot the past few weeks. And again, so Sutton is a guy you can just count on. He's a staple, but you're not going to get anything over 15 out of him. So give me Nakua because I just know he's going to give you a better day than that. And once again,
that one. That's a tough one.
That is a really tough one, man. I can see him just contemplating that while he's out there doing his thing, man. Like I said, he is well missed. Can't wait to have you back with us next week, Jeff. At TN Wood 2674 says full PPR. Need one, Deontay Johnson or Brian Robinson. Then he says pick one from Monty Warren and Singletary. Thanks. Well, thank you, Wood, for that damn question. This is gonna be a tough one. Joe, lead him off. What do you got? Deontay or Brian Robinson? Actually, this one seems kind of easy for me.
I agree. Yeah, this one you definitely got to go Brian Robinson. I'm encouraged by the Steeler offense, but Robinson against Miami. Robinson just been really freaking great this year for Washington. Monty, Warren, Singletary. I'm not going to play Singletary here. I mean, all these guys are in platoons, but I'm not going to go Singletary here. It's Warren or Monty. Another tough one. Man, did full PPR. You know what? Full PPR. Mikey's right about his Montgomery argument. Montgomery's got a better chance of getting in the end zone than Warren. But in a full PPR, home against Arizona, Warren might be the way to go there. I think I'm gonna go Warren because of the PPR by a real close margin over Monty.
Yeah, it's funny because on the first one, like I said, that's Brian Robinson. He's been one of the main focal points. Like I said, we've been wondering what Sam Howell's been doing to get the points. Well, it's right there. It's in Brian Robinson. It's right there in Antonio Gibson. Now neither one of them have been home run hitting plays. Deontay Johnson's been looking really on a very down year. I know there's been injury and everything like that, but even on the games that he's in, he's getting the targets right, but they're very short targets. There's not a whole lot of ADOT there to work with. And so for me, Deontay Johnson just hasn't been a solid play. Brian Robinson is. Now, picking one from these guys. Now, I agree. Now, Singletary's well within most conversations, just not this one. I feel like I like Warren a lot more. I like Monty a lot more. I'm really close, man, because Monty can get it done with passing game as well, right? I mean, he's just as good out of the passing game. They use him just as much. He's got that guy Gibbs that's bugging him, and Warren's got that guy named Najee got him, and both of those suck. But I think that you're right. Full PPR, I'm leaning Warren because I think he's going to be getting more done out of the passing game. And it almost really brings Singletary back into the equation against Monty because of that PPR, the value of getting those 7 targets. And maybe being able to turn that into 5 catches is 5 points, now as long as you can get some yardage and possibly a touchdown, that's a hell of a head start. So, but give me Warren here. Give me Robinson as well. Let's see here. We got at patience _ Olave, Pacheco, Montgomery, start 2 full PPR. What do you got, Joe?
Well, you got to start Montgomery here. I think that's what right off the bat. Man, it's hard to sit Pacheco. Olave's playing concussion. Yeah, he's the main event there, and I do expect some points in that game. Start 2 full PPR. All right, I guess I got to use the same. I got to be consistent. If I went Warren because of PPR in the last one, I think I have to go Olave here and sit Pacheco. So Olave and Montgomery, sit Pacheco.
And so this one I actually disagree on. I think Montgomery and Pacheco are the guys that I'm leaning here. I just like the volume plays. Now, yes, he's been getting it done, man. Olave's been looking better and better week after week. So the full PPR does suck sitting that guy down on the bench, but I've just got to go with the volume that I see out of Pacheco and Montgomery here. But it's really, really close. Now, did you see what our man Dave said on this one?
I think he sat Pacheco. Yeah, he did. He sat Pacheco.
Okay, so I mean, you're going to want to go with the consensus here. That's going to be Montgomery and Olave are the 2 you're going to start. But man, I have a tough time starting the guy.
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one.
That really is. Yeah, no, that's going to be a good problem to have. I think you're going to get points out of all 3 of those guys. Our guy Jeff still sitting out there. He says one more half PPR. He says Najee or Ford. What do you got here, Joe?
This is tough. You know what I just thought of though? Like, I feel like we should start, and maybe it's a next year thing, but I think the toughest scenario of the week that's thrown at us should be awarded in some respect, because we've had some real doozies, and I appreciate the tough ones, man. We got some legit fantasy players watching us, and so the heat is on, and I love it. This one, oh, man, I think I gotta. Najee was so good last week, and it's a really good matchup. But Ford, here's the thing. Warren is getting in the way here more than Hunt has recently. So I'm gonna go Ford. It's really hard. I'm gonna go Ford by a smidge.
And it's a lot of my things with new quarterbacks, right? I love the running back. I love the tight end. So for Ford, for me, there really isn't Hunt has been almost non-existent in the lineups over the past couple of weeks. Give me Ford, and it's very close, but I just think that Joe Flacco is going to have to showcase Ford a lot to alleviate 3 years removed of playing football. So give me Ford right here, but it's close, man. And once again, Miss, you can't wait to see you next week. We got our man Josh. Speaking of diehard fantasy football people, he says he's got a 20-team PPR. We got Zappy or Flacco and Dortch or Wicks. My good Lord, those are tough conundrums right there. Joey, go for it. What do you got?
I'm going to go Zappy because I know I went Flacco earlier. I don't even remember who it was against, but I'm going to go Zappy because they're home against the Chargers. And Ramondre Stevenson is doing some work in the passing game as well as in the rushing game. So I think I'm hoping that Zappy hits Ramondre for a couple of 8-yard passing touchdowns. So I'm going to go Zappy there. It's close. What do you got on that one?
Yeah, I like Bailey Zappi. At least, he's probably a lot more familiar with the offense than Flacco is familiar with his. He's got something to play for right now. We're talking about a guy that could go out there and actually win a starting football job and get Mac Jones fired, cut probably by tomorrow if he goes out there and plays a good game. So I feel like Bailey Zappi with everything he has to prove, whereas I have Flacco, maybe I just come back and say what's up, kind of do the old Aaron Rodgers, the 1, 2, 3, twist my ankle, I'm out, collect that check, and then I got a few more years of this rock and roll lifestyle that I got to live as Joe Flacco. So for me, Bailey Zappi's the guy. I think he's got more to play for. And by the way, love the fact that you're in a 20-team PPR. I love that. I love big leagues. My biggest league that I've ever been in is a 32-team league. And I tell you what, man, when you've traded your second and third pick, that 4th round pick that comes around, you're like, who the hell is this guy? I've never even heard of the whole lineup. We got Dortch or Wicks right here. What do you got next on the second part?
Man. I guess, Hollywood, I guess I'm going to go Wicks just because he's done it a little more. I know he's coming back from injury, right? He was out last week, if I remember correctly.
Correct, yeah.
But he was starting. He had some good momentum before that injury. That team in general has some momentum. I'm going to go Wicks here.
I like what Dortch has done this season, but I do like it, especially with Kyler Murray back in the thing. But yeah, I think Hollywood Brown's going to play. I think I'm going to go with Wicks here as well, just because he's been spreading the ball a lot around, and Wicks has been getting a pretty good, maybe not a good, healthy target share, but those targets that he's been getting are in the red zone. So that's what I kind of like about Wicks. I think he's going to be a guy that can actually get you to score. But if we're looking at the PPR aspect of things, I think Dortch is probably going to get more catches for us. But I think it's going to be like 3-2, something like that. I don't think we're going to be looking at anything high volume out of either one of these guys today, just because of the options that are out there on the field that the quarterbacks are a little bit more comfortable with. So nothing against the people right there, especially in a 20-team league. I think you're gonna at least be happy about the points that those two guys get you right there.
I mean, Wicks has got to be considered a diamond in the rough in a 20-team league.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a guy like kind of like a Jalen Hyatt or something like that. Guys that are just kind of coming on, and at least like I said, if you get 2 catches out of some of these guys, hell, dude, I'm telling you, in that 32 league, if they get in the field,
anything other than a 0
game, even if it's to spell the running back 3 times in a game, you're like, yes, my guy is on the field. You're excited that, yeah, dude, it gets crazy, man. At DSM29 says Flex, Breece Hall, Amari Cooper, Jerome Ford, or Josh Downs. Good, solid lineup, DSM29. I love it. What do you think here, Joe?
Yeah. Real quick, I didn't realize a short-term memory. Joe Flacco played in 2022. So I guess, is that did he played last year for the Jets, or was that 2 years ago?
I felt like that was 2 years ago, but maybe that was last year.
5 games. I was just like, when was the last time Joe Flacco threw a pass? But it looks like it wasn't as long ago as I thought. But
yeah, I thought it was 3 years myself, but yeah, I guess not. That's funny.
That being said, this one's really tough for me. I think on this one, I'm looking at the running backs. We've already talked a bunch about how we feel about Downs today. We like them. I'm not sure how I feel about Amari Cooper. I mean, he's going to get the targets because he's the most talented wide receiver they have by a landslide. But you're just not sure what Joe Flacco will be able to do. So I'm going to Breece Hall or Jerome Ford. And it's funny being on this show for like an hour straight. We've had so many Ford questions where we've taken Ford. I feel like I own Ford in like 6 out of 8 leagues, even though that's not the case. And it wants me to say, that makes me want to say Breece Hall now, because I feel like I have to hedge my bets on Ford because I've taken them so much today. I think on this one, I will go, assuming it's some sort of PPR. I know it's not stated. I think I'm going to go Breece Hall on this one. The Jets got to, they still are playing to get Aaron Rodgers back. They have to lean on Hall. He's very talented. They're playing the Falcons. So I think as long as there's at least a half-point PPR, I would go Hall. If it's standard, I think I go Jerome Ford because he certainly has the better chance to get in the end zone.
And, I like Ford here more than I like any of these other options. Like I said, I like the volume play. I just don't like anything I've seen out of that Jets offense. And, I mean, they're also turning a new leaf at quarterback. It's not going to be and so, I mean, that actually leans me more towards guys like Breece Hall because, again, I like the running back. I like the tight end when we're talking about a new quarterback hitting the field. But in this instance, I just like to have Flacco's seasoned, at least in the fact that he knows how to get his outlets and he at least knows how to extend plays and move the ball past the hash marks. Again, I'm not looking for anything great here, but I think Jerome Ford is going to be your higher volume play. I think that the defense is a team that can probably keep you a little bit more in the game, where I think you'll get a lot more usage out of Ford, where I think the Jets can easily fall behind. That defense has been looking worse and worse every week just because, man, that's what happens when you're on. Exactly. That's what happens when you're on the field for more than 75% of the game. I mean, it starts getting a little bit disheartening and things like that. And so you just don't play to your full level. I think that what they're looking for is a little bit of rejuvenation, and that maybe is why they activated Aaron Rodgers off of IR. I don't expect to see Aaron Rodgers even hit the field this year because I don't really feel like they're going to have a reason to put him on the field this year. So, and that all stems with them also losing this game today. And that's the only reason I'm really out on Breece Hall as far as that matchup goes. But it's really close. Like I said, it's Breece Hall and Ford as far as those go, just because I like both volume plays. I just like the guy at the helm, oddly enough, and Joe Flacco a little bit more.
Let me ask you this question real quick. I'll throw out, and you could use like 10 different guys, but I'll throw out Tyrod Taylor. If Tyrod Taylor was the backup to Aaron Rodgers for the Jets this year, you think the Jets would have a winning record?
I do. Yep.
Yeah.
I think it was really like, I mean, it's funny because I was always making a joke about it, but it's really crazy how much Zach Wilson was playing out of his mind, right after halftime of that Kansas City Chiefs game. And he actually played out of his mind almost to the day to the trade deadline. And then he just stopped playing football. And now he's out. He's a healthy scratch at this point in time. I mean, that's how far that guy has descended. And I mean, so I think there's a lot of mistakes made. I think we're going to see a lot more action next year at the trade deadline. I think the Chiefs screwed up by not getting a receiver. Well, I think the Jets screwed up by not getting a quarterback like Tyrod Taylor. Another guy, gosh dang it, what's I keep wanting to say Donnie Culpepper because he's a Viking, but it's the Saints backup. Anyways, like Jameis Winston. But that's another guy that I can't believe doesn't have a starting job when we're looking at some of these quarterbacks. Like right now, the Patriots are looking at starting Malik Cunningham. Are you kidding me? Like Bailey Zappi, who's done nothing but nothing. So
we got Tommy Cutlet, as they call him in New Jersey now.
Yep, Tommy Cutlet. Yep. I mean, look at all these like guys, and I mean, it's just crazy that you got all these other guys that are just still sitting there as backup roles and didn't get contracts. D-Hop or Deontay Johnson to end this out for Lindsey Kays. What do you got here, Joe?
I think we had these guys in the same one earlier. I don't remember. I think it was D-Hop or maybe it was a running back. I don't know. This is tough for me too. I think on this one, though, I'm going to go D-Hop because I like Deontay Johnson. And when he came back, he got a ton of targets. He still is getting a ton of targets. But even when he's good, he's not getting in the end zone much. He's had one since he got back. He didn't get in the end zone much before his injury. Where with D-Hop, he's got a legit shot of getting in the end zone if their passing game has any resemblance of a heartbeat today. And I do think the Colts are going to score. So I think Tennessee will have to open it up a little bit. So I'm going to go D-Hop here. Pittsburgh could win that game without Deontay Johnson doing well. Tennessee can't win that game today without D-Hop doing something.
Yeah, I'm leaning D-Hop here too, just because Deontay Johnson's just been underwhelming this year. I mean, as far as that whole offense has been underwhelming outside of the two running backs. Najee and Jalen have been exciting to own. Pat Freiermuth kind of turned it on last week, right? He had a pretty solid week last week as well. But again, I mean, that goes back towards my running back and tight ends with new quarterbacks before I start seeing yes, Deontay Johnson's getting a ton of targets. Yes, Deontay Johnson's getting a ton of receptions. What's the ADOT on those, right? So we're talking 3 or 4 yards per pop, and you don't have a whole lot of downfield blocking guys that are opening it up anymore. So he's getting slaughtered once he catches that ball. He's got a cornerback and a safety in his pocket. So, especially with Pickens playing. I mean, Pickens has been playing great too. It's just I don't think Kenny Pickett's the guy that's going to be getting you the football week in and week out. And it sucks that Tomlin's such a good coach because he's probably keeping him from having a good quarterback as long as he has. But yeah, so I'm going to lean D-Hop here as well. Like I said, Treylon Burks coming back, I think, is one of those undersung moments. That guy is a really good receiver. He was really good in college. We haven't really got to see a whole lot of what he can do in the NFL. And it's been really short sample sizes, and that's been with Ryan Tannehill of all people. So, I mean, it's really hard for me to lean away from this with the way Will Levis has been playing as well. So give me D-Hop here. And it's by a pretty wide margin as far as it goes. And it's crazy because, again, I just think that's a team that needs to, he says, Ramiro, what are you yapping about? Yeah, football, my man. We're always talking about football. Everything. If you got a question, make sure you get it down in the comments, because if not, we're gonna be closing her down here, Ramiro. So everybody, have yourself a good week. Joe, do you got anything to add at the end of that, my man?
Let me pick your brain one time real quick. We'll give people another minute. So
I can give you the 1, 2 brain sales that are left, my man.
I'll enjoy killing more with you after the show. It's a super flex. So I got Russ Wilson, I got Carr, and then I got Stevenson on my bench. Do you put Stevenson in for either of those quarterbacks or no?
I think I play Carr over those guys. I think Carr's been playing good enough that I'm going to get him on there. It's a super flex position. It's tough. I like Stevenson a lot, but give me the quarterback because I'm guaranteed the volume.
Would you play Wilson too over Stevenson?
Yes. Russell Wilson, yes.
Yep. So stick with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be a high passing volume game there as well. So,
would you consider last one? I mean, you're too good to have you and not ask you these questions.
No, you're good, man.
Would you consider benching DeAndre Swift or Rachaad White for Stevenson?
I would not. Nope. I just like the volume play. Stevenson's going to have himself a day, right? But the ceiling that you get out of those other two guys is just too high. I think that those guys are also going to have themselves a day. It always sucks when you have such a solid team that you got to bench somebody like Stevenson, knowing he's going to put up a monster. But those guys just have such a higher potential chance of throwing up bigger monsters, right? So again, week 13, we're chasing it. We're going big. We're going home. So excellent. Well, on that note, guys, we're going to go ahead and check on out. Make sure you're following us at Triple Play Fantasy. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, hitting that bell, doing all those great things to keep up with these great analysts. Man, we don't only do football. That's what me and Joe do. But we got, and Jeff, of course, my man Jeff, we're missing him. But these guys also do basketball. They also do baseball. And you know what? They're really, really good at it. So you're going to want to follow that, hit that bell, like I said, so you get all that good TPF content. And thank you guys